More tape. Where'd that roll of tape go? Thank you. Okay. So here we go. So same thing that we did, the left, the right, and the middle. So each piece holding your stencil in place. Now if you want to just watch me to get any of this, because I'll work fast, and then you can decide what you want to do. So taking that and blending it. But I'm running into that green piece of paper, and that's exactly what I want to do. I want it to protect my base because I don't want it to get on that piece. Okay. Then I move this out of the way. And if I wanted a little stem on there or not. If I wanted to make a little leaf, okay, so if you watch this for just a minute, so everybody can see this. If I wanted a little leaf, I just take this little side of the stencil and trim off kind of like a little heart shape for a leaf. And I can do the same thing. You don't have to, but it's just like if you wanted to do that. I can have the left side, the light, and the you know, getting in those little details to have a leaf, and then blending it. And there you got your little leaf on there. Okay, so that's totally, you know, like 6th grade level. You know, it's like there, but it's a lovely lesson. I love it. So if I wanted to have more fruit, same concept. I need to take my positive piece. If I wanted to have a piece, and I'm only showing you this just because if you want to do this, but you don't have to do it this way. Like I said, you can have a piece of fruit separate. But if I wanted to do something on one side or the other, I would cover up this piece of fruit. Okay, if I was going to make another one next to it, I could make 100 of these things. Taking this and putting it right next to it, doing the same exact thing, covering that up. Okay, is anybody confused about that, or you get that part okay? So when you get to the point where you're like, okay, I have my piece or two of fruit, then I'm going to finish off with making the table, you know, wherever it's going to be, covering up your pieces of fruit, just like you did, and making the table with that straight line, okay, wherever it would be. Well, there's the one. This is the one I was looking for. See how nice that with the fruit in there. So you could, however many pieces that you wanted to put in there, and then it's making the straight line for the table. So yeah, I kind of have to think about, okay, where's my fruit going to be? Thinking about placing this as one's in front, so it's way down, and you can put a little shadow on the side with the stencil. And you can always go back and add it, but really try to, if you can get that spray stuff, the hairspray or whatever, to protect it, or else they'll be all dirty. Any questions?
How did you do that? I missed the part where you were doing the little sticks or the...
Oh, okay, I'll show you in just a sec. I'll do it again. Let me just get a little bit of a table on here. That's black. And fingers work great too. So, and so the kids can share their stencil. So if somebody else made an apple, sometimes you'll say, oh, why don't you make a pear and you make an apple, and so they can, you know, share them. So if you're going to add, and you don't have to, but if you wanted to add the little sticks here, you're just taking one of the colors or a couple, whatever, this black, and making just some branches, just a couple little lines. If you wanted to have,
and it doesn't need to be light or dark on you.
no, it doesn't matter. So this one just this I added a light side and a dark side to it. So if you wanted to put some little, like, I don't know, like what are those little cotton little things, you know, like fruit trees and stuff have the little buds and things like that. You can add stuff, or, you know, like I said, the leaves if you want to put fruit, things like that. So that wasn't a very straight line. And then sign your name. So you can go on and on and on. This is such a great lesson. And you could do this with your own chalk. If you don't have these great sticks like this, you can use regular chalk and do the same thing. You know, it turns out nice. But when I learned this lesson, I really liked it a lot because I thought there's no way I could make that. It just looks too advanced. So any questions? Does it look too, yes?
If I want my fruit in front, then I use the, this one, right?
So if you wanted your fruit in front, so if you look at, you just kind of want to do things before you, like, okay, so if I wanted my piece of fruit right here, okay, if I put it right there, then what I need to do is take my vase and cover it up, because I don't want to draw my face, and I'm going to do the same thing, okay? But if I wanted, oh, you know what, actually I can't do that. Yes, it's in the way. That would have been my first thought, I should have made my fruit first. So because this is so dark underneath here, it probably, I'll just do it anyways. We'll see how well, it might actually cover up pretty good. So.
But you're supposed to work your way from the back to the front, right? If that's how you
Well,
work
and
your
not
pieces,
necessarily.
no?
This would have been the front. That would have been my first thing I put down. You know, but if it's not overlapping, touching, you know, I could have put that all by itself, separated, not touching it. That's the least complicated, is if you don't have them touching each other, you know, because then you don't have to worry about the overlapping. So for 4th grade, that overlapping concept, oh, this is actually the 4th grade, so you don't have to worry about that. So this is just the kind of the hard to, you know, tell them. But anyway, so if I were to do this, let's just see how it turns out. I think it'll be fine because these chalk sticks are really good. Sometimes in some schools don't have this kind and they don't cover as well. But these I think will be fine. And it will also, because I already made the table. Right. Okay. We're like Bill Nye, the science guy right now. I'm seeing, can we do this? Okay. And that circular motion, blending it all in there. And they'll ask you for new Q-tips and everything else. Honestly, the Q-tip works better the more chalk you get on it. Unless they've really destroyed it. Okay, and then peel that off and take a look at if that worked. See, I think it worked. And then you can add the little stems to it, whatever. You want to add the little leaf, you can just draw a little leaf on there or use the little stencil. So I think it worked out fine if you wanted to do it like that. Okay. So I like adding these little, you know, the little things to it if you want to. So anyways, I was saying about Rembrandt, we don't even know where he was buried because there were so many sicknesses that went around, like the big influenza, the big flus and everything. So they had to bury people so fast. There were so many people that were dying. His wife died in birth. Actually, they had 3 children, I think it was, 3 children that died at birth. And then Titus, his one son, he lived, and then he died fairly young. But he actually, Rembrandt loved to collect things. He had like all kinds of fancy things. So a lot of people would think that he was very, very wealthy. And he was later, and he would, you know, have a lot of money, but then he'd lose it all because he bought all kinds of fancy stuff, suits of armor, and he would pull people right in off the street, could be a bum on the street, and then he'd dress them up in these great clothes. And so people thought, oh gosh, he really knows he's connected with these very wealthy people. These wealthy people, you know, noble men, will have him painting their portraits. But it wasn't really that case. Sometimes they were just you dressed person in fancy clothes. So when I do lectures, sometimes I'll bring fur coats and stuff for the kids, and put them on, and they look like they're, you know, worth $1 million. But he loved all kinds of fancy stuff, and so he had, you know, that champagne based on bare income, and so lost it all several times, which was really sad. But then his son, Titus, he got into the art business, and so he kind of took care of him for a while. But then Titus died of, you know, one of the illnesses that went around. But Rembrandt, instead of him getting worse because of all the tragedies, his wife's dying and his son dying, and he just got better and better and better. Even though how many times he went bankrupt, he just got better and better. He was really amazing. But they actually thought that Rembrandt's work, that a lot of people, you know, had bought and paid a lot of money for his work, and they only found out not that many years back, I don't know, 50 years back or something, that a lot of the works were not Rembrandt's, they were his students' work. So can you imagine if it was you and you're like, oh, this is a real Rembrandt, and it wasn't. It's like the man with the armor, I think it was, that one I think wasn't Rembrandt's. You know, a lot of them that were really thought to be his, and they weren't, but they looked exactly like him because the students were, you know, so well trained. Yeah. So the night house, the night watchman. I think this one. I don't know if you've ever seen this picture. It's a pretty famous picture of his. They thought this was at nighttime. This was actually in the daytime, but it was hung for so many times in this place everybody would smoke back in those days, and so all the ash, you know, the smoke from, you know, cigarettes, pipes, and all that stuff was just packed on this thing. So when they cleaned it up, they realized this wasn't at nighttime at all. But the crazy things that are in this picture. So there's a little girl down here, and she has a dead chicken like hanging on her waist, and you know, people just got their arms in front of each other's faces. And so Rembrandt, when these people all came together, they were going off to war, and so